Ǹjẹ́ ẹ ní ìdojúkọ kankan nínú ìgbéyàwó yín tàbí ìrìn-àjò ìfẹ́ yín? Ṣé ẹnì kankan tí ẹ mọ̀ tàbí ẹ̀yin pàápàá ń dojúkọ ìwà ipá abẹ́lé, lílo ọmọ ní ọ̀nà tí kò tọ́ tàbí ẹnì kankan ń dúnkokò mọ́ yín? Safe Space connects you with help and support to survivors of violence and child abuse. Safe Space is confidential, safe, and designed to help you heal. Ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ amòfin Olúmídé Káyọ̀dé Ọmọṣẹ́bí ní gbogbo ìrọ̀lẹ́ ọjọ́ Thursday ní agogo 6:05 lórí ètò Safe Space. Lórí ètò Safe Space, gbígbọ́ ẹ̀dùn ọkàn yín jẹ wá lógún. Àṣírí yín bò lọ́wọ́ wa. Ìrìn àjò sí ìborí ìlàkàkà yín á bẹ̀rẹ̀. Your safe space to tell your story.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting and educational episode of Safe Space on your Women Radio 91.7. It's such an honor to be here one more time, giving you insight, giving you counsel and advice on issues of life, relationship, marriage, family, and everything in between. This is Safe Space where your voice is heard, where you get to hear real life issues and also learn how to apply them to your daily lives. These stories are not just for us to hear and listen, they are for us to learn. We'll be learning another thing today on violence, abuse, and how we can all be better individuals in our community. Of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm here with Barrister Kayode Omoshebi in the studio. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome to the show this evening.
Yes, thank you. Want to especially appreciate all our listeners and welcome you to another episode of Safe Space today. We appreciate all of you who tune in to listen. Now, today, my focus would be a little different. It would be on Ogun State. In an unprecedented move by the Women Radio, the Ford Foundation, and the Voice of Women Empowerment Foundation, on the 15th of April, that was last week Tuesday, in Abeokuta, hosted by His Royal Majesty Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo III, the Alake of Egbaland, hosted the first ever men's only town hall meeting in Nigeria. This was truly a landmark event which has never been done before. And the theme was the role of men in protecting women and girls. It was amazing to see the paramount king of Egbaland and his obas sit down alongside men in a men's only town hall meeting, deliberating on how to be better husbands and fathers. Now, after some robust deliberations, some recommendations were made. Firstly, to those religious organizations, they were encouraged to routinely speak on issues relating to family values and protection of women and girls during their sermons and community gatherings. And the security agencies were also called on to uphold the rule of law by treating all forms of abuse, particularly abuse, as serious criminal offenses. It was also recommended that any man who cannot protect his wife, daughters, or female relatives should reconsider fatherhood, as protection is care and key responsibilities of the father. Caring for women and girls is no longer optional but mandatory to every family, community, and governmental institutions in Egbaland. It was a very awesome conclusion, and cultural values must now respect the dignity and protection of women and intentionally taught to boys and men as part of their rites of passage. Now, also that the youths be in subsequent editions of this kind of town hall meetings, that the next one would include broader participation of youth leaders and young people. Now, the community based women's structures be made up of respected women to help resolve family disputes and mitigate on issues before they escalate. Now, the most important for me was that now the criteria for chieftaincy titles will be that before you are given any traditional title, you must have demonstratively empowered a woman within the community. This happened on the 15th, that was last Tuesday. And on the 22nd, it was also the first men only town hall meeting in Shagamu, where the Akarigbo and paramount ruler of Remoland, Oba Dr. Babatunde Adewale Ajayi, the Torugoa III, accompanied by 31 different Obas of Remoland. It was another exemplary meeting with the custodians of our culture. It was just something like a dream comes through when you see paramount rulers, the Obas, coming together to deliberate on how fathers should take care of their children and husbands, at the same time, be better husbands. They also recommended thus at the end of the meeting that there should be gender based violence desks in all palaces across Remo land. This should be dedicated uh, for gender based violence, that is, domestic violence and abuse amongst spouses, to have a safe reporting mechanism where you can run to the palace to report domestic violence and abuse. Now, also, was the eradication of harmful traditional laws and practices. It called for the abolition of all harmful traditional and biased practices and laws that violate the rights and well being of women. Now, child and forced marriages will come to an end in Remo land. When children are forced in early marriages, usually probably to a rich man who just wants children to marry. Now, there must be public condemnation of gender based violence across all Remo land. Traditional rulers affirmed their united stance to publicly denounce all forms of gender based violence. Now, also to strengthen local government and youth collaboration, stronger partnerships between local government authorities and youth leaders, to increase awareness, community engagement, and action against violence targeted at women and girls. Now, gender based desks also would be in social groups and associations, clubs, and community groups in Remo land. We urged to establish a gender based violence desk for where victims of domestic violence and abuse, especially amongst members, would be. You go report your wife or report your husband. Now, education and training for boys and young men to organize continuous mentoring, teaching, and training sessions for boys and young men to respect women and girls, to foster the cultural shift towards equity and nonviolence from an early age. It was also for the faith based advocacy, religious leaders are encouraged to use their influence to routinely speak on issues relating to family harmony, respect for women. As you know, our laws usually favor men in cases of domestic violence. They will still tell the woman, go and beg him, go and beg him, go and. Now, you call a spade a spade. Whoever is wrong will be wrong. Whoever is right will be right. Traditional titles and honors would also be awarded to men, only men who have actively empowered women and contributed to gender justice and social inclusion. across Remo land now, respect and dignity for all women will be unconditional. All forms of violence and discrimination, marginalization must be actively discouraged. This was the outcome of the deliberation, which was fantastic, which is has never been done in Nigeria. This is was awesome, and I want to appreciate the Alake of Egbaland and the Akaribu of Remoland for setting an example for other traditional rulers to follow. Now, first of all, the deliberation has always been on the role of men in protecting women and girls right here in Ogun State. So I want to talk about Ogun State for a second. Let me start with child sexual abuse. Now, a child is universally defined as any person below the age of 18. As long as you are below 18, you are a child. And child sexual abuse means the sexual abuse of anyone below the age of 18. Now, for it to be called rape, you must be 18 and above. Once you are 18 and below, or let me say below 18, it is called defilement. So, defilement is the rape of a child, anyone below 18 years old. Now, for easy understanding, child sexual abuse means one of these five. Number one, touching a child's genitals or private parts for sexual purposes. Two, making a child touch someone else's genitals or play sexual games. Three, putting objects or body parts like fingers, the tongue, or the penis inside the vagina or the mouth or the anus of a child for sexual purposes. Number four, showing pornography to a child. Number five, deliberately exposing adult genitals to a child. These five qualities, these five acts are referred to as child sexual abuse. Now, in Ogun State, in September 2020, the Journal of Annals of a Child and Youth Studies published their research on incidences and perceived causes of defilement of children in Abeokuta. They took Abeokuta North local government, Komoje, one of the 20 local government areas in Ogun State, as their case study. Now, a total of 120 respondents were selected, and what their study showed was that 67 children were already defiled. That's 40% were defiled when they were between 11 to 15 years. And the other 25% were defiled by people they know. This shows that 1 in every 3 girls will be sexually abused before the age of 18. Now, by 2023, research showed that Ogun State has the second largest cases of child sexual abuse amongst all Yoruba states. That is Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Ondo, Osun, Ekiti, Kwara, and Kogi. Ogun State comes second only to Lagos State. Now, this came as a little shock, but in 2024, Premium Times, through their investigative journalists, published 269 minors and infants between 0 to 16 years that were reportedly defiled, that is, raped as children between January and December 2023, and also released by the Directorate of Women Affairs, which showed that 41 day-old babies were raped by men in their 50s and 60s in that year. Let me take that again. 41 number of a day old babies, babies that were delivered on that day, 41 of them were defiled by men in their 50s and 60s. Now, Mrs. Abimbola Akeredolu, SAN, the first female Attorney General of Ogun State between 2013 and May 2015, said she has never seen so many cases of defilement before in her life as what she saw in Ogun State. And this was in 2013 to 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a pandemic of child sexual abuse cases in Ogun State. Now, the most critical age for the girl child is between 0 to 5, 9 to 14, and 16 to 19, where they are 4 times more likely than any age to be defiled, raped, or sexually abused in their lifetime. Now, 90% of child sexual abuse victims know their perpetrator in some way, while over 70% are abused by a family member. So the girl child is more likely to be defiled inside our own home than anywhere else. Now, abused and neglected children are 11 times more likely to engage in criminal behavior as an adult. Now, listen to this. The studies show that the presence of an active father in the family reduces the risk of child sexual abuse on the children. That means those that have a father who is active in the life of the children reduces the risk of child sexual abuse on both the boy and the girl child. 1 in every 3 girls will be sexually abused, defiled, molested before the age of 18, and 1 in every 7 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 12. But the presence of an active father reduces the risk of child sexual abuse on the children. So, what does this tell us about Ogun State? That most fathers are not active in the lives of their children. So, so it leaves room for people, for pedophiles, for family members, for neighbors, for religious organizations, that is, religious officers, those in churches, because those are the major convicts. Let me not use the word convicts. Those are the major perpetrators of this act. Family members, either by blood or marriage, neighbors, and religious organizations. The absence of the father is a major reason for the exposure of more children to child sexual abuse. So, what exactly is going on in Lagos State with the father and Ogun State with the fathers, that you have such a high rate of child sexual abuse? Where are the fathers? What are they doing? Busy with making a living? Busy with traditional affairs, chieftaincy affairs? Busy with religious affairs? Leaving children to be sexually abused? Look at this. Over 60% of women in prison were sexually abused as children. I was in Shagamu, and one of the religious leaders, also standing beside him, was one of the traditional rulers, mentioned to me that the children, especially the sons, are now so involved in scams, in frauds. They are so involved in all kinds of money scams, trying to get rich, in thefts and all that, that it is very alarming. But here is the simple problem. Abused and neglected children are 11 times more likely to engage in criminal behavior as an adult. It's traced back to the fact that there was no father present to train, to instruct, to teach. They were left to the environment. And once they are left to the streets, they become the streets. Look at that. 80% of 21-year-olds who were abused as children met the criteria for at least one psychological disorder. Trauma. Trauma. Abused female children are less likely to practice safe sex, putting them at a greater risk for sexually transmitted diseases, and also over 25% more likely to experience teen pregnancies where they start aborting at 13, at 14. And then when they get married, there is a problem with conception. There is a problem with staying married to a husband because of childhood trauma. The way they were defiled, the way they were raped. The first sexual experience determines the curve of intimacy of a lifetime. When a child was raped, as the first sexual experience, then in marriage, it becomes a problem when the husband says, she denies me. This thing is bigger than we think. And the issue is people, especially in Ogun State, try to settle it. Oh, that is my brother, is my uncle. And we have to cover it and settle it. It is a family affair. You settle the family affair, but leave the children traumatized for the rest of their lives, not being able to function. Have you seen that children who are sexually abused end up with drugs and alcohol abuse before the age of 21? And the question is why. You find out that a lot of people drink to paronure. These children try to get over the experience by drugs or alcohol just to feel numb, to forget the trauma experienced as children. Now, this is the problem. They are not just sexually abused once. The moment it has happened once, it continues to happen. They threaten the children. If you speak, I will kill your father. If you speak, I will do this. Nobody will believe you. Do you know who I am? And the child keeps quiet. Why? Because the child thinks, if I talk, they will kill my father, they will kill my mother. So to keep my parents alive, let me keep quiet. The absence of a father to teach the child sex education, which is telling them or teaching them how to identify abuse, and the confidence with which to report. If a child is, you see, the presence of a father increases the self-confidence of a child. The child will tell you, I will tell my daddy. The child is bold enough. When they get home, that uncle was touching me by my breast. When I was going, see, as that uncle tapped me. But where the father is present, is absent. Some fathers, when they say absent, it doesn't mean the father does not come home. The father is not just involved in activities that pertain to the children. You don't have time. You don't have time. You are too busy chasing a livelihood that when you are now old, the children that you were too busy to train will now be too busy to reciprocate. The findings are that child abuse occurs across all socio-economic levels, which means whether you are Christian or Muslim, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are religious or pagan, it doesn't matter. Child abuse does not matter. Victims of child sexual abuse are 3 times more likely to experience depressive episodes as adults. They are just not happy. Develop symptoms of drug abuse, 4 times more likely to suffer PTSD, that's post-traumatic stress disorder, thoughts of suicide, sleeping disorders, eating disorders. You see a child that was very brilliant just suddenly starts failing. A child that was the life of the party, very lively, suddenly starts keeping quiet. Those are pointers. Now, how do we just start working against child sexual abuse. First, fathers must change their ways and be present in the lives of their children. You must be talking to your children. Ask them how their day was. Make it easy for them to talk to you. Go out with them. Increase their self-confidence. Ask them, what happened today? Do you know that your father is there to protect you? If anything happens, just tell me. And nobody can touch you when your father... Say things that boost their confidence to the extent that they will no longer be scared to tell you. Secondly, those who are extensively, overtly religious, that if they tell you, the first thing you will tell them, stop blaming the children. What were you two looking for there? Was the child looking for rape? Whatever she could have been looking for, was it for rape? I'm saying, why didn't you tell me? It is not a matter of why didn't you tell me. Why were you as a father absent? I say, you look book. Failure to act is called neglect. And children suffer more from neglect than any other thing because the custodian, the fathers. And another thing is when you have abusive parents. Your father is already abusive. Your mother, there's wahala in the house. Who do you want to talk to? The first thing is repentance from the head of the home, which is the father. You must go back into the lives of... Don't bring children into this world when you are not able. You don't have time to take care of them or to be part of their lives, to teach them, to train them. In every religion, you are told, fathers, teach your children. The Bible tells you, in the way of the Lord, raise your children. It is the father's job for instruction. Spare the rod, spoil the child. It keeps telling you, son, listen to the instructions of your father, which means the father must be actively giving instructions, teaching the child how to live. Let us move from child abuse, child sexual abuse, to domestic violence. Now, this is really terrible when Ogun State leads all Yoruba-speaking states, second only to Lagos State. Now, Lagos State is a cosmopolitan state, which is everybody, outside Yoruba, everybody is there. So you can understand their chart being number one because it consists of all tribes. But Ogun State is more homogeneous than every other, than Lagos State, sorry. So it shows there is a problem with family institutions in Ogun State. It can't be. Premium Times have already published it. It is just amazing. Fathers, go back home. Go back to your children. Whenever there is a case of child sexual abuse, it is not a family matter, it is a criminal offense. And the Child Rights Act states that defilement is life imprisonment. It is as serious as armed robbery. It is as serious as murder. It is life imprisonment without option of a bail. That is how serious the law looks at defilement of a child. Either sodomy, that is the rape of a boy child, or defilement, which is the rape of a girl child. It is life imprisonment. Stop recycling, you settle it. Why? Because you are related to the person. Does blood mean that it is licensed for crime? Because you are related, that means there is a license for crime. Even if it means destroying the lives of your children. He's my brother, he's my sister. Will I send my brother to prison? So you release that brother to now be able to go to another person's family to destroy the children there. And that is how you recycle pedophiles from place to place, because families refuse to act. Look at that. Over 60% of women in prison were sexually abused as children. This is totally ridiculous. And look at it, it starts from the age of 0 to 5. The Directorate of Women Affairs released it. 41-day-old babies were defiled by men in their 50s and 60s in this Ogun State. It is, what can I say? Let me move to domestic violence and abuse. In 2023, the GNS survey by Hill estimated that in Ogun State alone, 15,000 domestic violence cases occur every year. And these cases are grossly underreported. Now we have 365 days a year. Divide that by 15,000 cases, it makes an average of 41 cases per day. That means as we are speaking today, 41 cases underreported. That is 41 underreported, which means it is more, have already happened. In August 2012, that was over a decade ago, an article was published by Greener Journals of Social Sciences titled The Assessment of Domestic Violence Amongst Women in Ogun State. There were 220 respondents in 2 zones of Ogun State Agricultural Development Program. Now, they were classified as Christians, 41%, 26% had primary school education, etc., etc. But their findings showed something very terrible. Over 70% had succumbed to domestic violence and abuse. Now, the studies went further to show the coping strategies that women have adopted in Ogun State to deal with domestic violence. Now, to remain silent was the strategy adopted by 63.1% of the women. Of the victims, because not only women are victims of domestic violence, but this was majorly women. 63.1% chose that they just remain silent as their coping strategy. Now, the other, pleasing and placating the abuser, that is pleading, trying to please the abuser so that he will not beat them, at the second highest percentile. Now, the third percentile was avoiding the abuser. That is, if it's in the parlor, they will be in the room. If it's in the room, they will be in the parlor. If it goes to the parlor, they will go out. Avoiding wahala was the third percentile of coping strategies to deal with domestic violence in this Ogun State. Can you imagine? 63.1% remaining quiet. The other, pleasing and placating the abuser, that is trying to appease them. Then the third percentile was avoiding. Now, it showed that these coping mechanisms affected the economic activities of the women in the process. That means they were not productive. Because to please the man, you might have to close your shop for a week to sit down at home. Pleasing the man might mean he doesn't want you to be even involved in any social activity. I got a report last week from a woman who had begged the husband to use the extra plot of land at the back to farm. The man had told her to stop work. She said she can't just sit there at home. After 2 years, she said, okay, let me just farm here. He agreed. As she started farming, and the man saw that the farm was yielding everything, the man went to cut off the borehole supply of water to the farm, and then disconnected the light to the pumping machine so that the plants will not be watered. The argument went on for 6 months. By that time, all the crops had died. And she sold her car to buy the seed, to buy crops to plant, to treat the soil. Now, not only does she not have a car, she doesn't even have the proceeds of her plantation. So, coping strategies to deal with domestic violence employed by the women in Ogun State has affected the economic activities in the process. So the conclusion was that domestic violence limits the women's potentials and hinders their full involvement in livelihood activities, that is, in business, in productivity. So it means for a woman to succeed in Ogun State, she must either leave the influence of her husband or fight back in domestic violence for those that do not want to leave the marriage. So you'll find out through a cross section of very successful businesswomen in Ogun State, a lot of them are either separated or divorced or in toxic marriages, those that choose not to leave the marriage. They end up being fighting all through, resisting abuse by stubbornly participating in their economic activities. So this tells you that there is a problem. Very few are successful and in at least happy marriages, where the good times are more than the bad times. So what is this telling us about the rate of domestic violence and abuse, which is 41 per day? This was in 2023, which has increased. And this states that the cases were underreported. That means for every case that is reported, there are 3 that are unreported. So, are you telling me that to succeed as a woman in Ogun State, to be very successful, you must leave the influence of a husband? Now telling me that men here are threatened by the success of the wives, that is a lot of men. Or they were also children raised in abusive homes, and you know that when children are raised in abusive homes, they grow up to become abusive adults. This was handed them from generation. That is, they saw their father doing it. They have now done it. Or their fathers were absent growing up, so their fathers never taught them how to respect and also support their women, but left the streets. And the value of the streets is to take, and to take, not to give. There is a problem here, and we have to go back to the roots. Thank God, our traditional rulers, the Alake of Egbaland, the Akarigbo of Remoland, have also seen the need for the custodians of our culture, that is our traditional rulers, to insist and support women that it is not a problem to have a wife that is successful. You insist that the woman will not work, then when the man dies, what will the woman eat? Knowing that after she dies, some of the husband's family will also come again. Where's our brother's car? Where's our brother's land? They take everything, but you have also disenfranchised the woman who has nothing because they were trying to cope with domestic violence and abuse by silence. They just keep silent. The other percentile pleasing him, okay, my darling, my sweetheart. Then the others, to avoid trouble, that is when the man is here, they are there. The rate of domestic violence and abuse in Ogun State is abnormally high for a homogeneous people. Lagos State has the highest by so far, but we know that Lagos State is home to every Tom, Dick, and Harry from every state of the Federation, which is not as high in population as that of Ogun State. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have just dissected what I know as a pandemic in Ogun State. I pray that our fathers become fathers and our husbands become husbands. God distributes his wealth as he pleases, as he chooses. He might give to man, he might give to woman. Whichever gets it is used for the benefit of the home and not for attracting competition of who will be more successful. It is a blessing and not a curse to be successful. I pray that our traditional rulers will continue to try their best as they have pledged to insist on supporting women and not disenfranchising women, encouraging women and their potentials. But I will tell you, as a woman or as a man, if you are living in an abusive marriage which has taken away your joy, your peace of mind, which has caused you grievous bodily harm, they say a living dog is better than a dead lion. Live to live. Pack your bags so that you do not die before your time. We can tell you between January and now, we've already lost over 200 people to their marriages. We heard just last week of a special, this week, of a special advisor to the Delta State governor who was also allegedly killed by the husband, such a prominent politician, but had been in an abusive marriage. The body can be just so strong. You can't do more than, you see, don't carry more than you can carry. Don't lift more than you can carry. If it takes away from your productivity, from your joy, from your excitement, from your gift, from your talent, from your peace of mind, from your mental health, when you hear them coming, your heart is doing bing, 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 running up and down the place. Be silent, be quiet, please to be begging, to avoid whatever you start on your knees will be sustained by your knees. Ladies and gentlemen, men, human beings were built, created to stand and not kneel. Let us put hands together, men, to support our women. It is no longer business as usual. We should no longer sit by and watch our children diminish in child sexual abuse. It is not a family matter, it is a crime. We must no longer see our men and women languish in domestic violence by marrying the wrong spouse, taking away their progress in life. Let me stop here. Ogun State. They say when you know the problem, that is already 50% of the solution. I appreciate our traditional rulers for calling for the men's only town hall meeting because they too have realized this very thing. In fact, in Shagamu, one of the Obas said that there is so much domestic violence, but it is only that they are not reported. It is so much when somebody thought that education has reduced the rate of domestic violence in Remo land in Ogun State. The traditional ruler said no. It is very high, but underreported. They try to settle. Family we want to settle. We go ahead and settle until someone ends up dead. May God keep us and bless our homes. Long live Ogun State. Thank you.
Amen. Long live Ogun State. Thank you so much for those powerful and timely words for us this evening. And a big thank you to our paramount rulers um, for taking for helping correct these issues in our society because they keep happening every time. And if preventive measures are not in place, they will also continue. And also, this is also a call, as much as the paramount rulers and the government are putting measures in place to ensure that all of this stops and there's an end to them, we also as a community, we have a part to play. We have a role to play to not silence our children and not hide the people that are perpetrating this evil. When you see someone do something as terrible as this, don't hide them, call them out to save other young girls and other people who might fall into the same situation. I feel like if 2 or 3 people are punished accordingly for this crime, other people would take time and would not do the same. If you'd like to join the conversation this evening, You can call me on 07000 917 917. And if you have questions for Barrister, you can also call on 09155 917 917. And you can also reach us on our toll free number, that's 0800 1235 917. Let's try. Let's build a safer community for our girls. And it has gotten so bad to the point that when ladies are going out, maybe you're the only one in your environment and you're going out, you're going somewhere, and you see a cluster of guys in a place, you're so scared to even walk past them because you don't even know what they will do to you. You don't know whether they will say, "Hey, stop there," or start to touch you in ways that you cannot, in terrible ways. And since you're the only girl in their midst, they will definitely overpower you. So, the mindset or the trauma that comes with it, that ladies who are not even raped, who have never been raped, or who have never experienced sexual abuse, just see a cluster of guys and they are so scared to pass through their middle or to even, walk through that place. It is not a very good thing. It is not a very good sight for ladies. Let's help people be in a safer environment. Don't let us see the male gender and we are so scared, or we are people, we start to think, what will he do? What will he say? You're scared when you're with your family member alone in the house because you've heard quite a number of stories and you don't even know what they're capable of doing. All right, so let's help our ladies to be more safe in our environment. If you're a man, please talk to your fellow men to stop these things. There, why rape a 40-day-old baby, for God's sake? Why? What pleasure is in raping a 40-day-old baby? You're just ruining the child's life. You're just ruining the child's life and making it difficult for them to have a stable life or a balanced life. Please, let's watch these things. And if you'd like to join the conversation, like I said earlier, you can call us on 07000 917 917. And you can also reach me on 09155 917 917. And our toll free number is 0800 1235 917 to be a part of the conversation this evening, and also to ask your questions if you have any questions for Barrister this evening, so you can have quality and valuable answers to your questions this evening. So yes, that's what we're talking about. And a big thank you to our paramount rulers for hosting such a very timely and life-changing event. I'm sure that the men that were present would go out to make a change, would go out to contribute positively to the situation of things in the society, because we have to build a safer world, not just for girls now. Even boys are being raped. Even boys go through abuse, sexual abuse on a daily basis, which is not good enough, which is not good at all. Even men get raped. There was a situation I heard that a guy was raped and he died, like with he was raped by three ladies, three women. Why on earth would anyone do that? So it's not just the ladies that are going through this. Men are also going through this. And for men, when they speak about it, you hear things like, "Are you not a man? Keep quiet. Men are not supposed to talk." Let's stop the culture of silencing people when they show up with their challenges or when they speak up about their situation. Let's have a culture of embracing people and listening to them. Hello, good evening. I'm fine, thank you. I can hear you. Okay.
And then that is this a women radio. I don't believe
Yes.
I heard that is happening in the state. I just want to chip in a word or two.
All right, go ahead. Yes, you are. Go ahead. Yes, you are.
Yes, now the gentleman who laid out all these statistics and everything did so well. But he failed to mention something which I know very well is responsible for what the abuse, sexual abuse of the children, and also all those other things in the state. It is the practice of diabolism. There are two ways about it. How can somebody rape a 40-year-old, 40-day-old baby? How? It is clear. But if the people, the traditional ruler, want to do anything about it, they should clamp down on the Babalawo, the Afaf, and all those people who are responsible for making all these child for these people who are only concerned about money rituals and all the rest. Thank you and good day.
Thank you so much for contributing to the discussion this evening. We really appreciate you for calling. Yes, I agree with you. Um, you know, people do these things for different reasons. Some for rituals and everything. And yes, I agree with you that they should be curbed and preventive measures should be in place to attend to that. Thank you so much for calling and for sharing your concerns with us this evening. We really appreciate it. So yes, if you would still like to be a part of the conversation and also share your 2 cents with us or also ask a question, you can call us and reach us on 07000 917 917. And you can also reach me on 09155 917 917. Hello, good evening. All right, looks like I lost that call. You can also reach me on our toll free number. That's 0800 1235 917 to be a part of the conversation this evening and to share your opinion concerning the issue.
Number again, you went too fast.
Okay. All right, this is Safe Space on Your Women Radio 91.7, and we've been having a very valuable conversation this evening. And if you would like to be a part of the conversation, you can call 09155 917 917. You can also call 07000 917 917. And our toll free number is 0800 1235 917. The parliament rulers in Abeokuta and Remaland hosted a men-only town meeting addressing the issues of gender-based violence, addressing the issues of sexual abuse among men, teenagers, and that's what we've been talking about since. And the fact that men should support their women to become better individuals. And for every man who, if you see people that do these things, that perpetrate these evils of raping children and all, don't cover them up. Don't keep them safe and say, as my family member, what would people say? What would the world say? No. Save other girls from being hurt. Save other girls from experiencing this trauma, this life life changing in a positive, in a negative way. Actually, it changes their life in a negative way, and some people never get themselves anymore till they die, and that's not the kind of situation that we want for our children and our girls.
Well, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Time is up. So we see. Is this the last Saturday of the month?
No, we still have one more Saturday. Yes.
I mean Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. Thursday, yes.
Okay. So guess we'll see you next Thursday.
Yes, we will. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on Safe Space, Women Radio 91.7. This happens every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Stay blessed.
Bye, everybody.